Hello. Today, let's do a tutorial on how to quickly create a full skeletal and muscle system for your character using Houdini 21. A lot of the innovation that's been created for this version is pretty incredible, including Metahuman import and recipes for creating a full skeletal and muscle system. So let's get started. Let's open up Houdini 21 and drop down a SOP network with the right mouse button in our node window and double click to enter the network. Now let's import our MetaHuman DNA by opening up MetaHuman Character Assembler and dropping down a MetaHuman DNA import node. Here we can open up the file for the MetaHuman DNA, opening up the head and the body, and taking a look at that. That's our character. Now let's create a split node to isolate the surface of our character. Let's connect the two nodes, and in the split node, let's open up the group for the body and the head. And now since we've isolated just the surface of our character, um, you can see we've left out the eyes and other parts of the DNA, so it's just the surface. Let's open up our OP geometry node and drop that into our network. Now let's export our geometry, save it to disk. Let's name our character let's name our character Emma3.bgeo.sc and save that to disk. Now let's import our character by opening a file node and importing our character. If we click in our node, we'll see our character displayed. Now let's open up a convert node to convert, make sure our character is converted to polygons. and open up a split node again. And connect that to our convert. And if we right click, we should be able to see our character displayed again in the window. I'm running a NVIDIA 3070 laptop, and so you might get better performance than me if you are using a faster machine. And the split node, let's pick the correct surface pieces in the drop-down menu, the body mesh and the head mesh, or whatever your character is using, to make sure that all we see is the surface geometry. Okay, now we're ready to import our recipe in order to convert our character into a muscle and skeletal system. We're going to use character effects muscles, test geometry, Otto Muscle Transfer recipe. And once that's picked, we can drop down the recipe underneath our character. Let's also copy the test geometry auto node and paste that in to get our correct low res geometry that we're going to be using to convert our character. So with that node picked, select skin surface proxy, and that will give us the low res geometry that we need for our character. And we're gonna transfer the topology from that to our character. So in order to do that, we also need to split the geometry to just get the surface. And so let's create another split node and drop that down. As you can see, our character Otto has eyes and other details that we need to edit out in order to create the surface geometry that we want. So let's connect the split node to our test geometry and just group the surface skin shape. Now, if we look, we shall see our geometry is now just the skin surface, which is what we want to convert. Now we can drop down the topo transfer node, which we'll use to transfer our topology to our character. And in order to do that, we will connect our character to the template character. So let's connect the first input to the test geometry split node and the second input to our character split node. Okay, now that we have that set up and our character is about in the same position as our template character, we can go into topotransfer node and prepare our characters for transfer of the topology. Let's go to the front viewport and zoom in to our character, the head area that we can easily create points for transfer. And to do that, we just reposition our viewport to where the character appears when you press enter or press this button for topology transfer. With this tool, you can see we have a blue dot that can easily create points on our transfer character that we can reset for our target character. And so let's get started by setting these points for our character that we will transfer to our character, our target character. So in order to do that, we set the points where the eyes are, the ears, and the mouth, and the nose. And then we will transfer these points to our target character, as you'll see in a moment. So this is a template character. This is the target character. Let's keep going. We're going to try and add as many points as we can to the template character so we get a really good transfer. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit so we can add more points to the rest of the body. Let's add points to the wrists and the hips and the knees and the ankles. Now, we want to add points to the feet. So let's go back to perspective view and try and figure out where the character will be as we edit by toggling between the camera view and the edit view. And try and get as close as we can to the feet so we can set the points up easily. Okay, now let's add points to the tips of the toes. Let's zoom in a little bit more to get more accurate. And next, let's move on to the hands. To reposition that, we need to kind of estimate where the hands end up, and using the left hand first, position the left hand where we can easily add points. Okay, let's do the same thing we did with the feet by adding points to the ends of the fingers. And now let's position the right hand so we can do the same thing with the right hand. So let's position that closer to the hand and add those points to the hand. And then let's move to the back of the character and add 2 points to the heels. Okay, our character is now prepared. So let's go back to our target character by positioning our front viewport and again, getting close to the head and picking the target. Now, the yellow marker goes in order in which we created the points for the template character. So we can easily move those points to where we previously set up our character. And this will transfer the topology quickly to our character and also help transfer the muscle system and skeletal system to our character. So let's reposition these points where they were originally for the template character to where the target character is. And this is a pretty quick process that lets us transfer these points to our target. So here we're moving down the body to where the corresponding points for our target character is. And this is the way we can quickly create retopology for our character. And as you can see, it's a fast way of being able to set up this retopology process and pretty easy to be able to do that. Okay, so let's move the feet into a more an easier view so we can easily set up our character. Okay, so these are the ankle points. Now we need to set up the foot points. Once we have that, we set up our hand points. Sometimes there is interference with the widget as far as where the positions are of these points. So it's a matter of editing the viewport so it correctly coincides. And it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. So now let's go to the left hand and set up our left hand points. Let's go and edit that. Click on target, and you can see we're moving towards the hand points that we created for the template. And let's just position those points where we want them for the left hand. Now we can go to the right hand by reversing our view and setting up the hand so it's easy to convert to our target. And let's move it up a little bit and set up our target hand. And, we can't see the thumb, so let's rotate a little bit, and this should give us a better representation. Okay, and let's click on the target again and go in order for the thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and pinky. And now let's go back to behind their character so we can move those points that we had for our heels. And you can see that's where they are. So if we click on those, we have our character fully set up. Now we can click on the Done Editing button and click on Solve to retopologize our character. This only takes a short amount of time, and once that's done, our character will be fully retopologized. And then we need to connect our topotransfer our character to our recipe. So we have our setup. So if we look at this here, there's our character fully retopologized. And now we replace the connection for our character from the default, which is the brute character, to the input target proxy skin, and also set up our character to the input render skin, which we use before the topotransfer from the split that we created for our character, and connect that to the input render skin. So now our recipe is fully loaded, so we can preview our character to see if everything converted correctly. So let's go to the muscle system and see if the muscle transfer worked correctly by clicking on the muscle transfer node and the right view button. That should give us a full setup for muscles for our character. And it's cooking, so you can see how quickly everything's working. It's 30 seconds and cooking the muscle transfer. And hopefully we can now see our character, the full muscle system set up right there. And if we click on a bone transfer, we can also see the bone transfer set up correctly. So that's pretty much it. That's the full process for creating this character, muscle system and bone system. Thank you.